Less government equals mo better. Sound off in the comments section down below if you agree. Hi everyone, welcome in, and thank you for watching today. If I seem a little bit out of it, off my game, or just generally groggy, I apologize in advance, and it's because I had to perform several hundred pages of legalese reading in preparation for today's topic. And I have a splitting headache. Again, apologies in advance, and if you feel so inclined, then please interact with the video down below. It lets the powers that be, the machine, if you will, Skynet, tell everyone that they need to see this video. So thank you again very much in advance. Kentuckiana Gunworks is best known for their research and development into lubrication technology. Their enhanced reliability oil is the product that I choose to use to keep my stuff running year round, because the invention of CLP is the worst thing that has happened to firearms technology, dethroned only recently by the introduction of 40 Smith & Wesson. KGW offers VSO subscribers a discount, and you can find that information over at the affiliates page. Special thanks to them for making today's video possible. We're all familiar with the federal process of ratification of a constitutional amendment. At least that's what's taught to you pretty heavily in school, but what is often not focused on is the process of changing state constitutions. And I think this is important because it is sometimes easier, in fact, in many instances, quite a bit easier to change a state constitution than the federal constitution. So, generally speaking, the federal constitution, it can be amended via two ways, but the one that we're going to focus on today is the 2/3 of both houses of legislature, and then ratification by 3/4 of the states. At the state level, it varies widely. Everything from a simple majority vote in the legislature to a simple majority ratification by the voters. Generally speaking, although many states have multiple avenues, the way that it occurs is it is proposed by the legislature and then it is sent to the ballot. And the exception is Delaware is the only state that does not need the consent of its constituents, its voters, if you will, to change their constitution. It can be done legislatively. The baseline for ratification of a constitutional amendment at the state level is a simple majority legislature, simple majority voters contributing during the actual general election, the issue on the ballot, as you are used to interacting with ballots, right? Some are a little bit more stringent than that, but generally speaking, across the board, most states, easily, I can say most states from looking at the data, require a 51% simple majority. However, there are 5 states, in addition to Delaware, that does not require that, as I mentioned, 5 states, Colorado, Florida, Georgia, Illinois, and New Hampshire, that have a more stringent requirement for amending their constitutions. Well, my state of Ohio is looking to join that list. So we have an issue called Issue 1, and it does really 3 things. It requires that any proposed amendment to the Constitution of the state of Ohio receive the approval of at least 60% of eligible voters voting on the proposed amendment. It also requires that any initiative petition proposing to amend the Constitution of the state of Ohio be signed by at least 5% of the electors of each county based on the total vote in the county for governor in the last preceding election. As of right now, you can basically just cherry pick. You don't have to get all 88 counties. This says in order to amend the Constitution, you got to get all 88 counties to agree to it. And I think that that is a fantastic move. Now, not all of those states that I listed were as stringent as what Ohio is proposing, but it is my belief that through the principles of limited government, it should be exceptionally difficult to amend the Constitution. Whether we're talking about the state constitution or the federal constitution, it should not be an easy thing to do, because that framework that governs what the government's parameters are was instituted for a reason. And yes, there are good reasons for changing certain provisions as time moves on. However, in order to properly vet those provisions that we want to change, it should be very difficult to the point where it is almost a nature of fact to make that change. The reason I bring this up is that there are a whole host of issues that I'm going to call we're just going to call them the Canadians for the sake of discussion. You know who they are. But the Canadians would like to see changed constitutionally that are substantially easier to attain at a simple majority level than they are at the 60 or 66 level. So again, there are some states like Colorado requires a 66% of the legislature and then a 55% of their voters. Like, it's all over the map, okay? But generally speaking, we're talking somewhere between either simple majority or super majority at the legislature and then a simple majority at the voter base, with the exception of the states that I gave you. So I think that this is a move in the correct direction, and I would like to know your guys' thoughts on whether or not this is something that should be pushed through at a nationwide level, because, again, there are many issues, the ones that we care about in particular, that it would be a lot easier to convince 51% of voters to go after than 60%. And I don't think that those numbers are insignificant. Now, I'm not going to name any particular issues outside of the Second Amendment issues that we talk about here on a regular basis, but I know that there are ballot issues at stake that have the backing of all the creepers that you're used to seeing, like the ACLU and the unions and et cetera, that are fighting here in the state of Ohio issue 1. They do not want issue 1 to pass because they know that this is a death stroke. This is a coffin nail in their agenda to put certain things on the ballot in the state of Ohio for amending the Constitution. Anyway, that's all I have for you today. Thank you for watching, and let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section down below. Is this going to be the next trend that they use to go after Second Amendment rights and the other things that we care about?